Welcome to USAID's Kitchen Sink, a food loss and waste podcast. I'm your producer, Nika Larian. 30 to 40% of the food that is produced is either lost or wasted, contributing to a global food crisis with over 800 million going to bed hungry. Listen on as USAID experts speak with researchers and development professionals to explore solutions to this critical issue that demands a kitchen sink approach. When it comes to climate, food security, and food system sustainability, we have no time to waste. Thanks for tuning in to USAID's Kitchen Sink, a food loss and waste podcast. My name is Nika Larian, Senior Food Safety Advisor and producer of The Kitchen Sink. Today, I will be speaking with Marie Bucko, the National Chair of the 2024 Feds Feed Families campaign, which collected over 12 million pounds of food donations in order to tackle food insecurity and nourish our neighbors. I've had the privilege of serving alongside Marie as the Deputy National Chair, and I'm so proud of what we've been able to accomplish under her leadership. So Marie, thank you for joining us today. And can you give an overview of Feds Feed Families?
Oh, it's so great to be here with you, Nika. Thanks for having me. So the Feds Feed Family campaign is, as you know, an annual campaign, and now it's in its 15th year, which is really exciting. Essentially, it encourages employees from all federal departments and agencies to give what we know as in-kind contributions, so food, service, time, to any local food banks and pantries, which is really exciting. In a quick nutshell, the campaign began in response to the 2009 United We Serve Act, which called all Americans to contribute to the nation's economic recovery by serving in their communities. And so since its launch in 2009, this food drive has collected over 120 million pounds of food donations to support our communities throughout the United States, which is amazing. And as we know, during the summer months, the demand for food really increases significantly. And unfortunately, we know donations also decline. So we have that inverse relationship. And so when it comes to the campaign is really to serve in a response to this cyclical happening occurrence that traditionally takes place between June and August of each summer that we have this summer campaign. And as you know, we can donate year round, but we really highlight the efforts of the summer campaign. And so structurally, we have our national leadership team, which included you and myself as chair and deputy chair, respectively. And then we have a communications leader, gleaning leader, technology leader, and a special events coordinator. And then each of our federal departments and agencies have their respective chairs to facilitate and communicate really the vision of the national leadership team. And so, as you know, all of these great folks are all volunteers for these efforts, and it's really, really inspiring.
120 million pounds. Wow, that's a huge impact. And you mentioned the national leadership team, and I was really excited when I joined to see the Gleaning co-chairs on the campaign. So can you tell us more about what Gleaning is, how we use it in the campaign, and how it can reduce food loss and waste?
Yes, of course. So typically there's only one gleaning chair on the national team each summer, but this year we had the great opportunity to leverage having two. So we had co-gleaning coordinators, and there are two types of gleaning, and one we know we're very familiar with is field gleaning, and then warehouse gleaning. So field gleaning is really the harvesting of any unused or unharvested produce. And then warehouse gleaning, which is really a great opportunity for anyone in an urban setting, is the opportunity to be able to sort food at a food bank or pantry, for example, for food distribution ultimately. So in fact, if you're interested, or if anyone's interested, you can go to our campaign website known as what we call our hub, and that's at fedsfeedfamilies.ocio.usda.gov. And hopefully you can put that link in the show notes because it's a mouthful. But we have a whole section dedicated to finding champions for the campaign, and they will be able to connect you with opportunities to glean in your neck of the woods throughout the United States. So you can also reach out to your local food banks, which we also encourage very much, to see what their greatest needs are when it comes to gleaning. as we all know, we live in very different geographical areas, and topography might look a little bit different from each of our neighborhoods. And so whatever we can do to give back to the local food banks and the pantries in our neighborhoods is really what's key there.
Definitely a lot of really great resources on the hubs. And one of the tabs that I appreciated the most on the hub is the success stories. So if you're looking for inspiration for what others have done, whether that's gleaning or donation drives, there's a lot of really great examples under the success stories to see what our interagency colleagues have been doing. And speaking of our national team, I also want to give a shout out to our special events chair. So we had a lot of really great opportunities to come together as an interagency this year. The Stuff the Truck events, the Wish Walk. I'm wondering if you could just give a quick little overview of those, because I really appreciated the opportunity to get to know some of my interagency colleagues that I otherwise would not have the opportunity to interact with.
Yes, we have a lot of in-person opportunities that as a national team, we encourage all federal departments and agencies to get together in person. We know working in a hybrid or a remote workforce, sometimes those spaces can be limited, but we had quite a few activities over the summer that we were able to either coordinate or participate in. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is a designated agency for the summer Feds Feed Family campaign. And it's been such a privilege to be able to work with USDA in that capacity. And so we had events like Stuff the Truck that happened in our farmers market parking lot here in Washington, D.C., which was amazing. And then we encouraged other departments and agencies to have their own Stuff the Truck events or Stuff the Trunk. Some folks had bicycle events where they stuffed baskets. We just made do with whatever our communities needed and adapted to it, which was just amazing and very inspiring. And then towards the end of the summer campaign, we had what you mentioned, the Fed's Wish Walk, which is essentially what you can imagine it to be, an opportunity for all of us to get out, exercise, to talk about the nutritional aspect when it comes to donating food and how important it is to have nutrition as on the forefront of proper produce that we can donate to our local food banks and proper nutrition. And it was a time to get out and exercise and connect with our colleagues and employees from across the federal departments and agencies. And so this year we took a bit of a unique approach. We combined our closing ceremony that we typically have as an independent event to capstone the summer campaign. And we actually blended it with our Wish Walk, which worked out really well. We had, one would argue, extra festivities that were had, which was a lot of fun. And it gave us a chance to really reflect on all of the work that federal employees were able to put together and to really be able to give back to our communities. And you alluded a few times here already, our national campaign theme, which was Nourishing Our Neighbors nationwide. And I can't see a better example than our federal employees that raised over 12 million pounds in such a short amount of time really speak to such a theme that we came up to.
Definitely. And as you said, I think the combination of the closeout event and Wish Walk was just really serendipitous. I feel like that was just last week. It's been over a month. But yeah, really a really fantastic conclusion to this year's campaign. And as you mentioned, we had this exciting news that we exceeded our goal with over 12 million pounds of food donated during the summer campaign alone. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you as we wrap up, how can we continue this momentum and continue to engage with Feds Feed families throughout the year to maintain this momentum and excitement leading into the 2025 campaign?
I'm glad you asked that, Nika, because as we know, hunger is a year-round issue, and it's not something that's necessarily seasonal. And so each year, as we talked about, there's a theme. And this year we chose Nourishing Our Neighbors nationwide, which is such an honor to have that type of opportunity to really love on our neighbors in such a way. And the intention of this year's theme is to really plant roots in our communities and build relationships with our neighbors. And that can happen year round. So I encourage folks to head to our campaign website, or you can Google Feds Feed Families. And on our hub website, you can sign up for our newsletter, which is at the bottom of every page when you get there. And that really gives you the latest and greatest information of what's going on during the campaign season, which is typically in the summer, as we talked about. Throughout the year, you can still donate and go onto our hub website to record your donations. And we typically share that there are 5 ways that you can participate in the Feds Feed Family food drive that happens year round. And the first one, obviously, is that you and your office can become a champion. And that is essentially any employee, federal employee, that can participate as an individual or be known as a champion. And so they help promote this campaign. They host events like the virtual food drives or in-person gleaning opportunities that we talked about. And they can coordinate efforts and activities with other champions, either close by or further away. And so to become a champion for this campaign, essentially you just need your approval from your supervisor, and then you just have to go to our hub tool page and just register as a champion. It's as easy as that. The second option or opportunity, you can find a food pantry or a food bank and donate online or in person. Again, we encourage folks to do what works best for their local community. Sometimes purchasing food online and having it delivered directly to a food bank or a pantry is a better option. Sometimes other options that work best for the local food bank or pantry is just simply drop off the food donations. And either way, we encourage you to record the donation that you made on our website so we can track it and you can watch the numbers tick up as the year goes on. The third option you have is to obviously volunteer on your own time. You can, sometimes if you want to talk about gleaning opportunities, we encourage folks to do what we call plant a row. And that's really just to harvest and donate produce from your home garden, neighborhood gardens or community gardens that you might have, trees that grow produce as well. And then of course, record the donation on the hub. You can glean at a farm or a food bank to harvest any of the produce or help food distribution. And as we know, going into the fall here, we have lots of squash, fruits that are really great opportunities to be able to give back to our local food banks in that capacity. So we talked about the 2 different types of gleaning that you can do, right? The field gleaning, which is the harvesting of the unused or unharvested produce. And then we talked about the warehouse gleaning, which can really involve, sorting and packaging donated items. And so all of that time that you spend can also be recorded in the hub. And we have a really handy calculator that translates the hours into the food donated. The fourth and second to last option that you have to get involved is to really host or attend a virtual food drive event. We know that many of our federal employees can be working in a hybrid or remote capacity, or maybe an international capacity, and time zone changes really impact involvement. So to be able to have a virtual food drive is a really fun and unique opportunity. You can join your colleagues online to learn about food insecurity in your community and how to voluntarily donate to participate in any local organizations that do accept virtual donations, which is great too. And then finally, the fifth way to get involved is what we are experiencing right now is through the combined federal campaign, which is known as the CFC. You can consider donating to a food bank or a food pantry through the CFC campaign, which runs from September to January, and that's their giving season. And you essentially you can hit 2 birds with 1 stone this way, and you can record your donation on the hub, and the monetary value or the volunteer time, like we talked about, will be converted into pounds. And so those are the 5 core, tangible ways that you can participate and donate year round and really love on your neighbors in that capacity and live out our campaign. And of course, always have to make a plug for the social media platforms. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and X, and it's all under the handle of Feds Feed Families. That was a mouthful, but hopefully that's helpful.
No, I appreciate all the ways to continue to engage and like you said, keep this momentum going. It does not have to only be contained within the summer campaign.
Right.
We can really continue these efforts throughout the year. And I'm glad that you mentioned all the Feds Feed Families social media accounts, because we really have to give a shout out to LinkedIn for bringing the 2 of us together. So
Yes.
a big shout out to the networking capacities that LinkedIn has. So don't be afraid to send messages to your colleagues. But I really appreciated this conversation, Marie, but also just the opportunity to participate in this summer's campaign and letting myself and USAID be involved this year was really meaningful for me. I know in my work, I get to work with interagency colleagues on
Mhm.
technical working groups, but this is really the first time that I've been able to collaborate with USDA colleagues and others on collective action for a public good. And I think that's a really nice way to
Mm.
see our interagency colleagues and get to interact with them in a different kind of way beyond our usual technical skill set. So I
Right.
really appreciated the opportunity. I loved participating in the campaign this year. So thank you, Marie.
I'm glad you were part of it, Nika. It's USAID had not been at the table before. And so when we saw that gap, or when I saw that gap, I was like, this needs to change. And so, as you mentioned, I'm grateful for LinkedIn for joining us together. And I really hope USAID is a partner moving forward and participating in the campaign. And with your fearless leadership, I'm sure there will not be any shortage of participation from USAID.
Definitely. I mean, as we've established here, the connections to reducing food loss and waste are clear. So I think the
Yep.
argument to continue to participate is strong.
Mm.
Thanks, Marie.
Thanks, Nika.
Thank you for tuning in to USAID's Kitchen Sink. This podcast was produced by Nika Larian and is organized by the USAID Food Loss and Waste Community of Practice co-chairs Ahmed Kablan and Ann Vaughn. Additional thanks goes to Feed the Future, the U.S. government's global food security initiative, and the USAID Center for Nutrition.